going to buy. But if, for example, I'm selling clothing, do I have to put a Christian name? Because some people will psychologically will think, oh, it's for only Christians or something like that. And that means you are narrowing yourself in the market.
Sure. So it's always important that you go beyond personal understanding or personal desire to associate yourself with that particular name, but make sure that you think so much about the customers themselves or people who are actually going to make use of the name.
What will you take as a good business name?
A good business name is one that is easy to remember, resonate with the customers or the target audience, simple and straightforward, and is something that is natural if you can. Natural doesn't mean that it has to be taken from the natural environment, but something that people can easily say that, oh yeah, this is it, and this is the name that, wow, this name is quite straightforward, simple, and I think I can easily associate with that.
So your business name needs to be simple, it needs to be straightforward, it needs to be connected to the community that you're going to build that business. Now we've got some businesses that when you mention name, it just comes straight into mind what they do. There are certain ones that you need to go and research. The point is that if you see that your business name is not really resonating with the people, what do you have to do?
I mean, most of all, I mean, you were asking me about whether there's the need to research the name before you adopt. It is a good practice, especially in this day and age where competition is fine.
Yeah, but even if that is done, and you see that the name is not resonating with people, what do you have to do?
Once you've registered the business, I mean, or the name, so to speak, it's a matter of words, not resonating, so I'm going to re-register a name. You have to then spend time and energy to literally market that name so that it resonates. Let it become much more appealing to the people. Because sometimes it needs some work to make on that particular name so that people become much more aware and goes beyond the earlier understanding or perception they had about the name. And there are even some simple names that we might think that, well, this is quite simple, it should be straightforward and people should be able to resonate with that. But again, people might not necessarily.
Because I think this is one of the challenges I say Tesco had in the States, isn't it? Because they had to change the name Tesco to Fresh and Easy.
Sure.
And one of the challenges that the Americans were mentioning the Tesco. Sure. You know? And then it's how? Because in Europe, people they can easily like mention Tesco.
Yes.
But the Americans, I don't know whether their accent or whatever, they were called it Tesco. And that one was a dent in the brand, isn't it?
Yeah. So changing it, yes, and for example, it's not just a matter of saying we've changed the name. You have to get the customers to appreciate the fact that this is a better alternative, and that is marketing approach that needs to be taken at that point in time.
I think we don't really...
And that has to do with the branding as well.
Yes, I think we don't really sit down to really...
We don't think through
in terms of business naming.
Yes, for example, I mean, A+, the key thing here is, why do we call this particular entity or say A+? The idea is quite simple. It is A+ because everything we provide is classic and world standard, and as so to speak, if you come in, is something that will, I mean, you are really going to enjoy, you are really going to be happy about, and the name speaks for itself.
Yeah, that is A+ consult, right?
We talk about STARR. I mean, STARR, as we all know, is STARR, but we going beyond the name STARR, you feel that, well, okay, that means it's not a mere
STARR.
STARR award.
And our STARR is fascinating because we've got a double R.
Sure.
It's not a normal star.
well, at the end of the day, it's the name. It's STARR is STARR, and therefore we know stars are quite important. And so if you associate or there is STARR aspect of what you do, then you know that people are going to get the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like my company, Train to Inspire Consultancy. Sure. It just resonates straight away that it is more about training, it is more about inspiration and consulting. So I think some of the names is self-explanatory as well, isn't it?
Sure.
And
some of them are self-explanatory. Some of them, let let's say there are conceptual connotations that, and therefore you want to go beyond the name yourself and ask yourself, why do I want to go with this name? If someone should ask you why this name, you should be able to tell because of X, Y, Z, and we believe.
So don't you think, for example, right, A plus, right? Now you have to put a lot of energy behind for people to understand the concept behind it.
Yes.
Unlike train to inspire consultancy. So will you really advise that people should go in for self-explanatory names, or one that is going to create that attention, that is going to cause people to really go and look up what is it about? Which one are you going to, which one do you prefer, and why?
Yes, it should be something that people can easily associate with, and the simple reason that you want to beat competition, you want to create a niche for yourself right from the beginning. Beyond that, also be the case that let's say you have already started a business and the name is not what you thought, but beyond the name is the product or the service. So the question here is, are people just interested in the name or what you are offering? So going beyond the name, they realize that the name possibly is not what they thought, but beyond the name or what is being offered is actually the best, then they can easily associate well with the name because they are getting quality as well. And that is why people sometimes don't want to be too much fuzzy about the name. But in this day and age where competition is quite critical in the industry, you want to ensure that right from the beginning, the business name is something that can help you to create a competitive edge.
So the business name can also create competitive advantage. And if your business name resonates with the people, if they really connect to it easily, then it means that you can be ahead. It can also be a unique selling proposition as well. And so the business naming, if you want to start a business or you are already in business, you need to put some more work behind the name to bring the name out there. And if you are about to start a business, be careful which name that you use. Your name should connect with the people. You have to understand that the name is not about you. It is about the people. The people that you're going to provide the service. They should be in your mind, not you. Sometimes we put our selfish interest in because we want the name to be this, but the people probably does not resonate with that name. So we really need to be careful in terms of business naming because it's very critical to our success in the market.
And a word of caution, it's also important that we don't just jump to choosing any name because we want the name to be appealing. You have to ask yourself, is this name already being used or being used by other people?
Yes.
And if something that is already chosen or taken by somebody, then you cannot just flow with it.
Yes.
Because that has some legal implications as well. So you don't want to risk it. So you have to ask yourself, is this name original? And you can create it yourself. Is this name original? If it's original, that's fine. And that's why if you are registering a company especially, you would have to search the name to find out whether it has not already been taken.
we're going to come to that. Yeah, that's the company registration. Yes, so we can start on that as well because that's the next thing we were going to do. Yes, and because sometimes some people run their business for some time before they even register it. We don't really put much importance into registering the company. What are some of the implications in this?
Well, you mentioned registering a company, but it's not just a company that can be set up. We have a range of ownerships or business status that individuals can decide to adopt. And most people would prefer to go the simple way, going for sole proprietorship and ensuring that they don't want to start by going through rigorous of processes of complying with some aspect of the law, and so they will just go by sole proprietorship. But it's always a good idea to, if you can, go for private limited company, for example, because you know that at least to an extent you are following the due process of the law, registering the business, and people can really see that, well, this is an independent company, and therefore they are not just dealing with an individual, they are dealing with a business, and so they feel confident, they feel comfortable, and they feel that at least the risk that they are taking by associating or doing business with you is minimized.
Because that one has got sometimes before you realize, you would have wasted your time and energy building a particular name. You know, one of the things that we don't consider is that after getting the name, sometimes we don't even buy domain. We register the name, that is legal. The name, nobody has taken it. But before we go, even somebody has taken that domain. So it means that your website is going to have a different name from your registration company. You know, and these are some of the things that we don't look at.
Sure.
What will you advise on that?
Right. I mean, so as part of the registration process, it's not everyone who would. Yeah, it's a good idea to have a website established so that customers can easily follow your offering or your product or service and make sure that they connect well with you. And that is where we'll advise that yes, if you can straight away, you register the domain or register the name. But mind you, it's not always the case that if you don't register the business name by taking up a domain or a web address straight away, it will be detrimental. It might be the case that by the time you realize somebody has taken the name itself,
yes,
all you have to do is then add something to it.
Yes.
But the root name still stands.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So it's not the case that at the registration stage you have to also buy a domain. What if you can afford at the time? So we don't want to put in place any impediment. But it's always important that once you have decided to go by this name, you register the business. And once the business is registered, especially as a company, nobody can pass off or take that name and run with it. It becomes yours.
If you register a company and the company is not in operation, right, what happens to the name?
Right. If the company is not in operation, I mean, once you register a company, you're supposed to follow due process and ensure that you comply with regulatory requirements. At the end of the year, you have to file your accounts. In other words, notify the company's house. Let them know that either the business is active or dormant. And either way, you have to file a petition. You have to complete forms to show that the business still exists, just that it has not been active. If the business is not active, it's not a crime. It might be that certain things that are not in line or in place at the moment.
So you have to still do your paperwork to show that though you are dormant, but still
your business is still alive or literally active. So what then happens is that you let them or let the company house know that yes, the business is still there. For this period, we have not been active, and they are still aware that yes, the name is not lying just fallow idle. But the moment you don't follow due process of the law and they feel that the company is just a waste of space,
waste of space,
then it has to be literally dissolved, and the name will be taken off the system.
Alright, then company registration is very important. That when you put up your mind, you have got your name, you need to register it. And even if you are dormant, you can still do the paperwork for whatever country that you are in to understand that though you are dormant, the company is still active. So you can still do your things until you are ready to operate. Most of the times we wait and wait and wait and wait, and before we realize the name that we want, somebody has already even picked it and a whole lot. So we need to, if we decide to go for it, we have to go for it. We're going to go for a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we are going to continue our discussion. And when we come back, the phone lines will also be open as well, and you can contribute to this program as well. So please don't change the dial. If you like what you hear, please don't keep it to yourself. Tell another person to listen to this program, because keeping this to yourself, to me, I see it as being selfish, because you can't keep this to yourself. You need to pay money to get this information, But Mr. Charles Asmah is giving it out for free. And that is what Star Radio is all about. Inspiring our generation. We are the best Afro-Caribbean